friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Amelia and today we're going to be doing something slightly different. I mean, definitely still in line with what I normally do, but I want to try to do something that was a little bit bigger. I want to look at reading speed and whether or not that impacts the enjoyment and overall amount that you get out of reading. Because I've seen online a lot of discord of some people are like, people will read tons and tons of books and people will be in the comments like, there's no way that you remember all of those or that you really got out of those all that there was to get out of them. And they advocate for reading fewer books and often more smart. I use that word highly in quotations, very heavy quotations there, books, and that you should be reading in order to get the most out of a book. And so I thought it would be fun / interesting to do an experiment where for 1 month where I try to read a lot and get through a large number of books, and then 1 month directly after where I try to really slow down my reading and get the most out of each book that I read as possible. And I would say that currently I fall sort of in the middle, but slightly more towards the volume side. I don't annotate my books that often, and for the most part I read for entertainment. I like to get stuff out of the books I read for entertainment and not just skim through them, but I wouldn't say that I'm picking apart every detail. That's part of why I like to reread books sometimes, is you get a lot more out of it the second time around when you can specifically be looking for those kind of things. But usually on a first read, I'm just letting the plot take me at whatever pace it takes me at. So let's talk a little bit about my plans for month 1, high volume. In terms of a TBR and a plan, I don't have one nailed down. I think that having a strict TBR will be more of a detriment than an advantage in this case, because I'm going to rely a lot on mood reading to help pull me through the number of books that I want to read. And in terms of an actual number, we're going to just look at physical books for this, because I also listen to nonfiction audiobooks, but those I don't want to include in this. I don't think it's as relevant because an audiobook goes by the speed that it goes by. You can't change that. Well, you can, but I'm not going to listen to it on half speed. That would be ridiculous. So in terms of physical books, how many do I think I can read? Maybe 7 or 8, depending on the length. But in terms of TBR, I don't have one, but I do have some books that have come in from the library and some unread books back here that I'm interested in reading soon. So from the library, I'm currently reading The Conductors. I'm already 88% through that, so that I'm hoping we can wrap up relatively soon. And then I also have A City on Mars. This is a nonfiction. Then I also have The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. That one, I don't know, we'll see. And Someone You Can Build a Nest In by John Wiswell. I don't really know anything about that, but it looked cute. So those are the 4 books that I have on here from my library. There is several others that will probably come in at some point during this, but we'll talk about those if and when I get to them. But yeah, I think that's probably all I need to cover right now. We will talk a little bit more about the strategy for the low volume month when we get there, but I think all that's left to do now is get reading. Hello, it's the next day. I'm just jumping in really quickly to say that I finished The Conductors. I thought there were 100 e-reader pages left in it, but there was only 20, and there's 80 pages of whatever random garbage at the back. Do you guys ever read the sneak peeks and that kind of stuff that they put at the back of books? Because I never do. I mostly am just annoyed that presumably they're offsetting the cost of printing all that into the cost of the book, and I'm I don't want to pay for that. But anyway, let me know in the comments if you read that stuff. I never do. The plan for the next book to start is I'm going to start A City on Mars, which is a nonfiction book. The tagline is Can we settle space? Should we settle space? I don't know why that's so hard to say. And Have We Really Thought This Through by Kelly and Zach Weinersmith. I am probably also going to read The Cruel Prince kind of concurrently, so that I have a fiction and nonfiction going on at the same time. That's kind of how I like things to be. But yeah, those are the reading plans. And 1 book is down, but that's probably only 5 pages of a physical book. So I wouldn't say that we're off to a big start or anything, but it's a start. Hello friends, I'm coming at you late on a Tuesday evening with a little bit of an update slash to discuss the current situation. It's not like a big situation slash problem, but here's the vibe. It's been kind of an annoying evening, or slash afternoon, for a variety of reasons. Nothing that serious, but I'm just kind of in the mood where I want to just watch a silly video or two. I don't know, get an hour of YouTube or whatever, and then go to bed. But because I'm doing this thing where I'm I want to try to read as much as possible this month, I feel like I need to read because currently I'm reading, what am I reading? A City on Mars. I don't know how I forgot what that was called. And I'm 25% through. Feels like it's taken quite a while to get through. It is kind of like a science-y type book. So I was expecting it to take a little bit longer, but I only read 130 e-reader pages today, which is probably 75 pages maybe, which is fine, but for a challenge where I'm trying to read a lot, it doesn't feel like enough. So I think I need to do some more reading tonight, even though I'm kind of not in the mood. So, which is, if I were reading a lot normally, I would just choose to do something else, but yeah, we are trying to get through the books this month, so I'm going to have to do it anyway. So I think I'm going to start my next read, which is going to be Empire of the Vampire by J. Kristoff. I'm hoping this is really interesting from the beginning so that I can get sucked into it tonight and not just be resentful that I feel I have to read. That's the plan tonight. I will shut up now, go do some reading, and also I just made some popcorn, so. Hello friends. It's been a bit since the last update, a few days, and yeah, sorry, I've been doing a bad job, but I've also been doing a bad job at reading. I just kind of hit a bit of a, I don't know, I wouldn't say a wall, but a bump, and I just wasn't in a reading mood, which is kind of the risk that I was taking, endeavoring to do this sort of high volume reading thing, that I would just sometimes have breaks where I didn't feel like reading, And that's just kind of how my reading tends to go, is I'll like read every day for like a week straight, and then I'll like take a couple days off because I haven't finished a book or I just feel interested in doing something else. And that's kind of what happened. So I didn't read for 2 days, but now we are back. I started reading again this morning. I didn't get very far because I was just kind of reading while I had my tea in the morning before I went to work, so I maybe read like 10 pages. So yeah, not a lot of progress has been made, but I thought I should at least mention that this sort of thing happens, because I feel like it probably happens to everybody. So yeah, that is where we are at currently. Hello, I thought I would give a quick update. We're at the beginning of week 3. I just finished Empire of the Vampire. It was kind of a lot slower than I was expecting. Not like the book, but just like actually reading it. And I feel like I am kind of running out of steam. Like, I'm not like uninspired to read, but I just feel like there are other things that I also want to do. So, but like I said, I did finish this, and now I'm like almost 30% of the way through the 3rd Murderbot book. So we are kind of getting back into it, but I still feel like I really need to get a lot of reading done in the next 2 weeks in order to really feel like I did read a lot this month, because at the moment I really don't feel like I have. So I kind of feel like I'm failing, which isn't great, and doesn't inspire me to read more. But yeah, that is kind of how this experiment's going. Spirits are kind of low, honestly. Not specifically like only because of the challenge, but also just like I'm just tired this evening, and I don't want to do like anything else that could conceivably be considered productive. So yeah, I'm gonna keep reading Road Protocol, and I think that's all I have to say. So, good morning. It's the next day, and I finished Murderbot last night, and I should have probably been more on it about like getting like library holds and stuff, because now I don't know what I want to read. I have plenty of books here that I haven't read, but I just don't know if I want to read one of them and which one I want to read. So, unread. Let's see, also unread. But I don't know which one to choose. I think I've landed on Last Argument of Kings. I just like, maybe it's because it's morning and I'm like still kind of tired, but I don't fancy like starting something new right now, and it will be good to finish this series and get it off the list. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Last Argument of Kings, and I have this shiny edition, so reading plans secured. So I sit down to read Last Argument of Kings. And I started, and this is literally nothing against the book. I barely read it at all, but I just don't feel like reading it right now, actually. And I couldn't think of what I wanted to read. I found, Illborn at my library, and it was available. So I borrowed it, and I think I'm going to try reading this instead. It's something I've heard talked about a lot on BookTube, so I thought I would give it a go. Last night, as we saw, I was in a bit of a not the best. Was it last night or this morning? I don't know. Either way, I'm not inspired to read, but now I've set up my reading chair, and I've got a little corner starting to go on, so it feels like a night to read. I just have been having trouble finding something to read, so we're gonna give this a go and see how it is. All right, things are not going well. I'm about 80 Kobo pages into Illborn, and I don't think I'm gonna finish this book. I think I'm gonna give up now while I'm ahead. This is some of the worst writing I've read in a long time. It's his first published book, and you can tell. And so, yeah, I think I'm gonna give it up. But that does, yet again, leave me looking for a book. And frankly, I have no clue. I might give up for the night, but I don't know what else I'm gonna do. So I guess I will update you when I figure this out. Might have to go back to the library catalog and see what I can find. But yeah. I had such high hopes. Hello, welcome to our midway check-in. So we have finished our first month, which the challenge / experiment was to read as much as I could, read quickly, read volume. And so this month we finished 10 books. I will say one was mostly finished at the start of the month, so let's say 9, although the number of books is less important than the page count, which was, where did it go? 2,916. That's pretty good, but I think I've had months where I've read more than that. So I think it was mostly successful, but I don't think not my highest reading month ever. I don't know if that sentence made any sense, but we're gonna go with it. And overall, I wouldn't say it felt bad, but there were definitely some points where I was having a little bit of a struggle with motivation to keep reading and to force myself to read when there are other hobbies and things that I am interested in. But we will save a more complete summary for the end, although I probably won't go crazy because I feel like this video is going to be very long. But we are now going to be entering into our second phase of the experiment, which is going to be the month of reading much more moderately, trying purposefully to read slow and to read just like less overall, trying to see if that impacts what I get out of my books and the quality of my reading. So today it is April 8th. I started yesterday, April 7th. I gave myself a week off in between. So we will go until the 7th of the next month. But I do want to talk a bit about my TBR and sort of plans for the month. So this is the book that I started last night. I've had this since like November when it came out and I haven't got around to it yet. So this is the first book that I am going to be reading, and then some other possibilities. We are trying to shop my shelves at the moment. So I also have Day of Fallen Night. And then the other two books that I am interested in getting to potentially are the final book in the Farseer trilogy, which I've been rereading, Assassin's Quest. And then I have, it's falling out of the sleeve, How the Human Body Drove 200 Million Years of Human Evolution, also known as Eve. This is the one that I originally listened to on audio, and then I went and bought the physical book because I liked it so much. And I flipped through it and stuff, but I've not actually read it from here, so that is something I'm potentially interested in doing as well. Now you'll notice most of these books have sort of something in common, and sorry, I'm trying to wield all these at once. That being that most of them are quite long, and you might be thinking, well, that doesn't seem super congruent with the idea of reading less, but most of these are going to be kind of slower reads. I'm not anticipating getting to all of them. This one, I don't find Tad Williams' writing to be like super quick reading. It's a little bit slower than something like Sanderson. So I think the writing style, probably this, and then this one is nonfiction, because I feel like it slows you down a little bit because you're trying more to digest it. I don't think Robin Hobb's writing is particularly slow or complex, but I am planning to annotate this, and actually annotating is going to be one of my main ways to slow myself down and try to interact and digest more of the text. So I have started with Navigator's Children, a couple of little annotations. I have my little stickies. My problem is that I think I'm going to need to order more of these, because this book is like blue and then this book is also blue, and I kind of like to match them as much as possible, so I need more blue because I'm going to run out. Yeah, that is kind of the plan for slowing down the reading, is annotating, reading books that I feel like the writing takes more time to actually get through, and then also just allowing myself to take time to do my other hobbies and pursue other interests, and not specifically force myself to read every day. So yeah, those are kind of the three main things that I think are going to help me slow down my reading, and I don't think I have anything else that I need to discuss. So we'll go ahead and cut this segment here, and I will see you during my month of reading slow. Hello, so it is now Sunday, the next Sunday, which means we are on day 1 of week 2 of this second part of our challenge. And this is all the reading that I've done, which is 115 pages in a week, which is pretty slow for me. I have the excuse that my partner was here visiting, so, I'm going to use it. But this is kind of slower than I really originally meant for this slow section to be. I am, reading, making tabs, kind of trying to read more analytically, but I also just haven't spent nearly, also, I'm sorry, there's sound outside. Haven't spent nearly as much time reading, and I think that this week I'm going to try to get some more reading hours in. I want to still read slow, but I still want to spend time reading, if you know what I mean. I would kind of like to finish this book this week just because there are a lot of other books that I want to read. So it's going to take more hours to read it reading slow, if that makes sense. Because it takes a lot of time to do the annotation. It's not a lot, but I would say that it probably adds I don't know if I would say an hour per 100 pages, maybe 15 to 30 minutes, depending on how many tabs you want to make. That's kind of where we're at. As you can see, I'm not at my house. I'm dog sitting at the moment. So hopefully having less of my usual stuff around me will motivate me to sit and read and do my annotations and think about what I'm reading more. But yeah, like I said, it's Sunday. It's 1:30 right now. So I might go back to sitting outside, as you would have seen me doing earlier, and keep reading. I kind of want to drink another coffee too. So I think I will make a coffee and try to make a little bit more progress in Navigator's Children, because I feel like I'm still not really in the meat of the story, and I just want to get to where I am swept up in the story. Welcome back. It's been a while since I did an update, so I thought I would do just a quick cooking update. It is day 2 of week 3. I'm pretty sure it's week 3. If it's week 4, it's gotta be week 3. And it's kind of stressing me out a little bit that I've only read one book this month. That's so against the grain for what I've read so far this year. And so yeah, it's kind of stressing me out a little bit. I'm honestly just my reading stats are all gonna be messed up by this experiment I did just to see if I could read less, which is obviously stupid, and the stats mean really nothing at the end of the day, and it's just whether I had a good time reading or not. And I am having a good time, but I actually just last week I did quite a bit of reading
the week before, and then also like over this weekend I didn't do like any, and I was just busy with hanging out with my partner. But yeah, I'm back at the apartment by myself now, so I imagine the amount of reading will probably go up. But I would have shown started a new game called Forager, and so I'm feeling a little obsessed with that. I'll probably do some reading tonight. I like to usually read with my dinner. I would really love to at least get started on a second book this month and preferably finish it. But yeah, that's kind of the update.
Good morning, folks. So I did finish Navigator's Children. I forgot the name of the book last night. So that means it is time to choose our next book. Because I just kind of honestly would like to finish at least one more book before the end of the month. And maybe that's kind of like a silly thing, but it does make me like a little bit anxious to only have read one book this month. So yeah. Yeah, it is kind of dumb. But here we are. I want to start this, but I kind of want a like fiction to read at the same time. I kind of forgot Two Towers was on my list for this video. It's pretty short, so I think I'll do Two Towers, and then I also kind of want to throw some Eve in there. So 2 books. I'll probably finish this one, but I don't know if I'll finish this one. Maybe we'll see how much time I actually spend reading. Because I can read slowly, but if I spend a lot of time reading, then I can still read more overall. So a little bit of update on the whole reading slow thing is honestly, I've been kind of finding it a little exhausting, disheartening, whatever you want to say. And it just doesn't like motivate me or inspire me to want to read. Especially when it's like I annotated my last book and then I started Eve, and I'm also annotating that one, which was the way that I thought would be best to kind of slow myself down. And it definitely does, but it also makes reading more of a process, because it's like every time I have a thought about something, I'm like, oh, is that like something I should annotate? Is that worth annotating? And then I think about it, and then it breaks me out of like the reading flow. So I'm kind of getting a bit frustrated with that. And I went book shopping today. There's a video for it. It should probably be out already. And I bought some books, and I'm just like, wanting to read them, and some of them are kind of like bingeable type books, so it doesn't specifically go with this video theme. But I still have a week left, and I've still only read like one book this month, and honestly I'm just kind of annoyed with the challenge at this point and feeling like I haven't got that much out of it. So for the evening, I'm going to read Caliban's War. I'm not annotating this. It's a space opera. It doesn't need annotation. What am I gonna annotate? I did already start it because I was at a cafe, which is a cafe after I bought it, and I read the first like prologue chapter. So I'm gonna do some reading of that tonight. I'm not gonna force myself to read slow. I'm just gonna not like read the whole thing, you know? So yeah, I'm gonna do that, and then hopefully by like interspersing this book like with Eve and doing all the annotation and stuff for that, I still like won't go like crazy. But yeah, I'm just kind of ready to binge some books again. Like, nobody gives you shit if you binge a TV series, so why can't I binge a book? Like, it's not that deep sometimes. Okay, so quick update. I just finished Caliban's War, which is book 2 in The Expanse, and it was a little more of the like bingey, fast type of reading than I was specifically planning for in this video, but it did still take me 5 days, which isn't like super slow, but I wouldn't say super fast either. It's 591 pages, and now I should go back to the original plan, but 2 books from my library just came in, so I'm probably going to start one of those next. We are on Wednesday, so we have 4 days remaining. I probably won't finish another book if I'm being good and not binging, although one of them is very short, so I don't know. We'll see what I choose to read. Alright friends, if you are somehow still here watching, congrats and welcome to the end, finally. I don't know why I didn't really consider that a video that I filmed over 2 months would end up being long, but you know, unsurprisingly, it's a little bit long. Let me know if you like the length, if you want to see more. Okay, my cat has chosen this moment to go in her crinkly tube. Let me know if you want to see more like longer vlogs. They're kind of fun to film, so I would be open to that if you guys want to watch them. But I have some notes for my conclusion here. Unfortunately, I think the conclusion of this video is relatively obvious in retrospect, and probably to a lot of you at the outset as well, in that the conclusion is essentially just forcing yourself to read at a specific pace or in a specific way is just ultimately going to detract from your overall reading experience either way. I think there is definitely value in specifically trying to read slower, especially if you're reading like some sort of nonfiction book that you really want to get a lot of the information out of and like remember, or you're reading a book for like a specific purpose, like you're trying to understand the themes of that book or get something out of it for another reason. I just don't think in those circumstances it can add value. But for your general reading, when you're reading for entertainment, if you hear a little bit of crinkling, Mimi is going in and out of these cat tongues over here, so you may hear that. What was I saying? I'm completely lost. So unfortunately the conclusion is what the obvious conclusion would be, which is that when you're reading for enjoyment, just do what makes you happy, because that's kind of the point, is it not? I think there is kind of a lot of discussion online right now of overconsumption, and while normally they're talking about like of physical items, like buying a bunch of like clothes or whatever, and in the bookish space, buying a lot of books that you don't read or having multiple copies of the same book. And I have made a video talking about this at one point, but there are also people who talk about overconsumption in terms of like the amount that you read, saying that like reading 100 books a year or whatever is overconsumption, which I kind of honestly am gonna be real with you guys. I think that's a little bit ridiculous. And we're talking about the overconsumption of media, which I do think is possible. But just like how many TikToks or YouTube videos or TV shows are these people watching? Because like it's probably a lot. I feel like reading a lot of books, even if they're like not real literature, is probably better for you than that. I know it's easy to see people's lives online and to like feel personally about it, but I think we, and even, you know, myself sometimes too included, let people online have too much control over us. Like frankly, somebody reading 100 books a year does not affect you unless you let it. People have been reading a lot of books since the books have existed, but you just didn't see it online, so it didn't bother you. So maybe the takeaway here is just to take back control of your reading and to a greater extent, honestly, your life from these social media sites that are preying on your emotions and your insecurities to generate wealth for the global elite. Your insecurities are the chains on your shackles, and the longer they can keep you chained, the stronger those shackles get. Anyway, this was supposed to be a book video, and yeah. I don't know. That's kind of where my thoughts went when I started trying to think about what my conclusions were going to be for this video. And I don't think I did a very good job voicing my thoughts. Feeling a little scatterbrained today, honestly. But, yeah. I don't know what else to say. The conclusion is, do what you want to do, and don't let other people decide for you. And that applies to reading and to life. Okay, bye.